Welcome to Idiosyncratic Fables. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever episode of Idiosyncratic Fables, where, like I stated in the introduction, everybody has a story to tell, and I want to hear yours. And so I want this platform to be your opportunity to tell a story of your choosing, whether it's one you've written, whether it's one that's personal to you, or just a childhood favorite you grew up with. Now, again, if it's somebody else's material, we ask that you have permission to do so before you go live. For today's episode, I have with me Anthony Miano, who comes to us with a story that he has actually written himself. Anthony, go ahead and give the listeners a brief overhaul as to what we can expect from this selection today.
Well, it's my novel called The Changing of the Gods that I self-published 2 years ago. I'm going to read the official plot description on the back of the book.
Okay.
Until the end of the Trojan War, Hades, god of the underworld, had avoided interfering in the affairs of his fellow gods and mortal men. Fed up with their destructive behavior, Hades sets on a journey that will rock Olympus to its core.
Fantastic. What inspired you to come up with this story, to get you to start writing it?
Well, I think the initial spark was from Euripides. He was a ancient Greek playwright.
Yeah.
The Trojan Women, which is set the day after the Trojan War ended. And in that story, Odysseus, the great hero of the Odyssey, creator of the Trojan horse, convinces his fellow Greeks that it's necessary to kill Hector's infant son, Astyanax, to make sure he doesn't grow up to seek revenge. And they agree with him, and then they do this. And I thought, yeah, the premeditated murder of a child is something he should not be allowed to walk away from.
Hmm. Okay. That's awesome. And what section of the book are you going to be reading for us today?
Hmm. Let's see. Well, I'm going to read a paragraph from chapter 12, which, well, a couple of them that should pique the reader's interests.
Okay.
Chapter 12, The Lamentation of Ares. And also,
Ooh.
I opened each chapter with a quote from a historical figure that
Okay.
sort of sets the tone. And for chapter 12, we have I hate war as only a soldier who has lived it can, only as one who has seen its brutality, its futility, its stupidity. Dwight D. Eisenhower, President of the United States and General of the Army. Charon rowed his ferry boat across the river Styx with great trepidation. His master Hades had been sending him on unusual assignments lately. First, he had to transport the late Trojan warrior prince Hector across the river Styx, across the Med into Ithaca. The hard part was ensuring Hector didn't stay in the mortal world too long. No one knew exactly what disaster would occur in that event, and no one wanted to find out. Second, he was now tasked with transporting the war god Ares to the underworld, on the same route he took mortals. For most, he demanded a silver coin for payment. With this passenger, he was afraid to even speak. Mortals often could not even speak in his presence.
Very nice. Every time I think Ares, my thoughts immediately go to the PlayStation franchise of the God of War series, where you get to play as Kratos.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a reason I have visions of this maybe as a video game someday
Ooh,
if I can
okay.
get in front of those people. They would have to tweak the story a bit because I mean it works as it works as a narrative story, but in a medium where the consumer is actively participating with it, the same story wouldn't quite work. You know what I mean?
I do.
That's a reason I think there might be a realistic possibility of having this converted into a video game someday if I could get it to the right people. Now, the story would have to be tweaked a little bit because I think it works fine as a literary narrative, but in a medium where the consumer is actively participating, it wouldn't quite work as is. Does
Okay.
that make sense? Yeah.
It does make
And
sense.
speaking of Ares, also, I do believe I've written him differently than any other author has.
Oh, really?
Yes. Let's just say my version of Ares, I gave him one of the I guess you'd say strengths and weaknesses of Harry Potter because remember Harry had a piece of Voldemort's soul trapped inside him that he didn't know about for a while. And
Correct.
so he was aware of it whenever Voldemort was feeling particularly strong emotions.
Mhm.
Well, I gave Ares a similar connection with every war veteran that's ever lived. So when one of them has a PTSD flashback or something like that, he's feeling all of it.
Wow.
Yeah. So my Ares is not let's just say he's not the monster he's traditionally depicted as.
Fascinating.
Oh yeah. Also, I'm a former soldier myself.
I was
Raised from a military family, so
I was just getting
yeah.
ready to ask you about that. You did mention the word veterans earlier in your description and was going to ask which branch did you serve in and for how long? So you said
Well,
Army.
I served in the Ohio Army National Guard for 6 years, and then I served in not Ohio, the Army Reserve for 7 years.
Okay. Thank you for your service.
I did what I could.
Yeah. What was your MOS?
I was qualified as a 19 Delta Cavalry Scout
Okay.
and a 37 Fox Psychological Operations Specialist.
Ooh, fun times. I
Oh, yeah.
never I never swapped MOSs. I stayed 13 Romeo pretty much the entire time I was in, which was a field artillery radar operator.
Oh, 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 okay. They should call it smart. They didn't call it technician
Yeah. Yeah,
because then your
though.
job would literally be fart. But
Indeed.
switching MOSs is quite common. I went through reclass with two NCOs that were on their third MOS. So it basically depends on the needs of the service. Like sometimes I had a team chief who enlisted as a generator repair technician. He made E5 as quickly as possible, and then his chain of command told him, "Look, we like you, but we don't have any slots for you. If you want to get promoted, you're going to have to leave the unit and reclass." So he reclassed to 37 Fox, and then he got E6 real quick.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had similar cases like that back when I was in. Let's see. No, this would have been in Germany. So when I was with the 173rd Airborne, we had a few guys reclass back and forth just because they weren't going to make enough points to progress further up.
Okay.
Well, anything else you'd like to cover, Anthony, before we wrap it up today?
Oh, it's quicker quicker than I expected. Let's just say one of the ideas behind the changing of the gods was the Iliad and the Odyssey have been called the Bible of Greek mythology. So I wrote the changing of the gods with the intent that it be like the book of Revelation,
Fantastic.
which
Okay.
was the last book of the Bible that wraps up the story.
Right.
Not going to go too far into how. I do think my book is a lot easier to understand than the book of Revelation. There's none of the I don't do the mark of the beast. There's no seven seals. There's no I mean, the symbolism should be a lot easier to understand. Let's put it that way. And
Understood.
there is one criticism that's come up in the Amazon reviews that I want to address.
Sure.
And that's that the ending comes out of nowhere. It doesn't. In fact, it's foreshadowed several times in ways that the characters don't quite pick up, but if the audience is paying attention to detail, it should occur to them. And also, the title of the book itself is foreshadowing.
Fantastic.
And and I got the idea for it's a double meaning. One of which I'm not going to say. The other, it's all one, which I won't go into to avoid spoilers. Two, the the expression "the changing of the guard."
Right.
It's a play on that. It also, okay, well, I guess it refers to three things. It's that, it refers to character development, and the ending, which I won't get into. And yeah, I kind of got the double meaning idea from the 2010 film Predators, because it's about both the predator species that likes to hunt people, and in this one they abduct a bunch of people from Earth who are considered predators amongst humans.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate being on this program.
Yeah, it's
When do
been
you
a
think
pleasure
it'll
having
air?
you on, Anthony. Thank you so much for your time, Anthony. I appreciate it. And thank you, every single person who chose to tune in and listen. Once again, if you want to be a part of this show, just to, be a guest, it's going to be audio only. So don't worry about video and whatnot. But if you feel that this is your platform to share your story, whatever the genre, send me a contact via my website, narratorjames.com, and I'd love to have you on. So until then, peace be with you.